Welcome to Lumen, a podcast that sheds light on mental health, relationships, and what it means to be human. I'm Christopher Mooney, LCSW.
And I'm Kenyon Phillips, LMSW. Each episode, we unpack psychological patterns that affect our relationships. No jargon, no judgment.
Just thoughtful conversations to help you understand yourself and others a little more clearly. I am exhausted today. Absolutely exhausted.
Totally exhausted.
So we're going to muscle through.
Do you want to tell me why you're exhausted?
I fell asleep in my bed, not on the couch or anything. Mm-hmm. I fell asleep for like half an hour, and it was just enough to get like that power nap for my brain to reset. Mm-hmm. And then I woke up at like 11:15. Wired, ready to go. And I was like,
were you in fear or
no,
just like
nothing? It wasn't.
energy?
And I checked. I was like, oh, am I anxious right now? Is there something going on right now where I'm like, do I need to address anything? And I even went through like my list of things I have to do. And I was like, can I do any of this now? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
So I didn't even bother getting up. And I just laid there like wide awake for like 2 more hours. So today but the brain fog is crazy.
Yeah.
And so I suddenly woke up with this overwhelming fear, which was this idea of we are doing a recording today.
Right.
And it's been going pretty well. And now I have to be on, and I feel absolutely dumb. Like I feel like cloudy and just kind of like all over the place. Like I can't form a thought.
Behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
Not going to be good enough.
And so I thought, well, can I caffeinate myself enough? And like a year ago, I decided to stop caffeinating myself so much. So I make a mix of like decaf and caffeinated coffee at home. So I couldn't even have like enough of that to hit what I need. So we're going to make the best of it, which is what we're going to talk about today, right?
This is perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect that you're having this because we're talking about perfectionism today.
Yes.
We're talking about perfectionism not as something that's aspirational or on par with like excellence or being an amazing person, but rather as a trauma response, as a coping mechanism, as a protective device.
Yeah. And as we've talked about before, like an unhelpful thinking style, right? A cognitive distortion.
And it specifically relates to one in particular.
Yeah. All or nothing thinking.
Right.
So if it has to be all perfect and everything has to be in order, or it's worthless and we can't engage in it. So I'm going to really, as we go through this, try to embrace the I'm good enough, which we'll do a good enough job and see how it goes.
Now, the perfectionist in me recoils at that. Absolutely. Just the idea
of good enough.
Of good enough. Like, oh, well, good enough is a C and I'm an A student.
Right.
I need to be an A student in everything.
Mm.
And that's a fear-based thought process.
How so? Like where's that fear in needing the perfectionism and needing the A?
Yeah. The needing the A, well, not being okay with the C, which is, let's look at the C. C is satisfactory.
It's fine.
Right?
Yeah.
C is a satisfactory. Yeah. C is good enough. There's a sense that goes on in my brain that I need to distinguish myself. I need to prove myself. I need to prove myself to you in the context of this podcast.
Right.
I need to prove to you every time we record one of these that I'm a worthy partner.
Sure. We've talked about that before. The fear, like that crushing fear of, oh my God, like how you spiral on that, or how we all spiral on in any situation in life where it's, I forgot something. I don't have this thing. What is my boss going to think of me? What's my partner going to think of me? What are the people I'm in relationships with?
Yeah. I'm one mistake away or one subpar performance away from total failure and being canceled and being thrown out, rejected. So that's masking almost. Masking is having that impulse, which is fear-driven, which is a compulsion, mask as excellence.
Tell me more about masking. What is masking?
Masking as in literally wearing a mask, acquiring tendencies, characteristics, actions, behaviors that don't come naturally to us, but that we think somebody else wants us to have.
Okay.
In order to fit in order to be accepted. We talk about it within the context of neurodivergence a lot. Mm-hmm. If, for example, I don't like making eye contact when I speak to somebody, but I notice that most of the people around me do like to make eye contact. I'll mask, I'll make eye contact, even though it makes me very, very uncomfortable.
Right.
That's one example.
Sure. Knowing how to behave in certain, or what we think is when we're in a social situation, right, or how we're supposed to act.
Right.
We're always assessing, and this is all coming out of that our experience. And if it's trauma or just difficulty, or we think about anxiety, abuse, all these ways that we learn as children how to maybe put on a mask and just pretend for a while.
Right.
But with the idea that we're fitting in perfectly.
Absolutely. One will be rewarded in many ways for being perfectionistic in our society until we really assess the costs of it.
Yeah, the costs are, so if we think about where that comes from, the costs can be it's anxiety, right? The crushing anxiety that we feel when we have to be on all the time,
right.
when we have to appear as perfect,
right?
Keeping the family together, parenting, work, whatever social life, whatever it might be, all of the areas and the domains that we have to be perfect in, and it has to look a certain way. That's a tremendous amount of pressure and stress, and we know that we can only keep that up so long. We talked about tiredness and exhaustion last time we spoke,
and how that leads to burnout.
Exactly. This is yet another thing. I mean, I think we even talked about perfectionism a little bit last time, but this is, as we really think about it, that there's a tremendous amount of pressure, and we become exhausted. We become so burned out. We become so overwhelmed with trying to keep up the appearance and follow through, because it's not just keeping up the appearance. Like, we try to follow through on being perfect.
Action, right? Putting the action behind it, and it's a full-time job.
It is, but it's unachievable,
right?
That's, if we really look at it, there's nothing really in life that is perfect,
right?
Right. I think you've even mentioned before you had a therapist that told you, like, the only
perfection is death.
Perfection is death. We're trying to avoid that, most of the time.
Yes. We're trying to get back into life.
Right. So if we think about that, that's if nothing is perfect, right? Life is messy. We hear this all the time. Oh, life's messy. Therapy's messy. Work, all of it's messy. But what does that really mean? And are we accepting of that?
For me, that means gray area. I've got to get down with the gray. There is, again, a compulsion and probably a perfectionistic impulse, a fear-based impulse that everything needs to be siloed. Everything needs to be organized, categorized. There need to be clear boundaries. And I think messiness, gray area, we have to define what the boundaries are. And oh my God, wow, what if boundaries shift?
Right.
And what if the way I feel about something that I'm dealing with in therapy shifts?
Right.
How do I deal with that? Does that mean I'm, again, the perfectionistic brain perhaps would say, oh, don't be flaky. You're being a real flake now. You should hold steadfastly to your values.
You can't deviate from what that is.
And then there's this self-shaming that starts to happen that I'm aware of in myself. I'm aware of it in clients.
Of course. Well, it's that narrative, right? We talk all the time about our narrative, what's going through our mind, what are we telling ourselves? And it's the things that we don't share with others. Like, sometimes we do, oh, I feel bad about that. But really, how often are we going through this kind of dialogue in our mind, or even a monologue at some point where it's just like, I'm just going to go on for hours about, all of the shameful things I feel, and I don't add up. And when we go through that, it's so toxic, and it is, it's all based in shame.
Yeah.
It's all based in kind of feeding this idea that we're not good enough.
Exactly.
Because we're not perfect.
I have to give 150% in order to be barely acceptable, in order to almost measure up to you.
Right. That's true. No. we'll reaffirm that.
Thank you.
But it's so funny, because that's the thought that goes through your mind. And when we think about my thought's the same. Not that you have to measure up, but that I have to measure up.
Right.
And then when you think about how everyone is walking through life, where most of us are walking through life worried about how we measure up to other people.
Absolutely.
And we have to be certain things in order to to even equate to other people.
Yeah.
To even hang. But if you check in with the other person that you're worried about and what they're thinking, they're most likely not even thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves.
Always. There is, I remember having that crushing realization, which was actually a liberation. Oh my God, nobody cares about the fact that I'm bald.
Right.
Nobody cares about all this stuff that I'm worried about. It was so funny, actually, speaking of perfectionism, I remember I was in my early 20s, 23 years old probably, and I used to be a model. I signed a modeling contract. I don't recommend that as a job, as a career choice, career path, but I ended up in it. And literally within months of signing this contract to make money with my appearance and to look a certain way, I lost my hair, like significantly.
Wow.
I started losing my hair. And what came up was, oh my God, this is unacceptable. I have to fix this somehow. So I shaved my head.
Right.
Rather than, have a compromised receding hairline, all that stuff.
Sure.
And I remember marching in with faux confidence, masking to meet my agent. And he was like, "What the fuck? What did you do, Kenyon?" And I said, "Well, I'm going for a different look." Of course, I was too ashamed to admit that it was because I saw that I was balding and I was ashamed of that, something I couldn't control. So I shaved my head and I fronted like it was just an aesthetic choice. I said, "I love it." I said, "Don't you?" And he said, "Well, I do like it on you, but I don't know if Madison Avenue is going to like it."
Right. And that's, what a prime example of just being judged on perfection, right? You're signing a contract for perfection.
Right?
Yeah.
But we sign these contracts, even if they're not explicit, I think, in our minds. People talk about the relationship contract, which states, again, it's frequently unspoken and unwritten, but it states essentially, okay, the way I present myself to you in courtship is the way I'm always going to be for the rest of our relationship. And that's just not true. Once the courtship period ends, we start going to the bathroom in front of each other. We become real.
Hopefully you're in a relationship where the vulnerability is allowed, and then the mask can come down, right? You feel safer showing somebody the, what's not perfect, the imperfections and the gray area. And it's refreshing, and it's really nice when you have somebody that you can do that with, or people in your life that you can do that with. And I think that that's part of the goal that we're working towards is, when we're talking about communication and connection, actually having people in your life that you can let down some of the mask with and not have to be so perfect around.
Right.
Because it's exhausting. And it would be nice to hang out with people and not feel exhausted.
Totally. And not have it be performative.
Sure.
And I think with perfectionism, we get stuck in a way of thinking. It's a way of thinking where we become comfortable with that level of discomfort and acting in a performative fashion.
Right.
And then the idea, like when somebody actually is real with us, it's almost off-putting.
It's a shock. It can be a shock. It can be off-putting, or they're too direct or too open. It makes us uncomfortable because we're not doing the same. We're not matching that.
Right.
If we're masking and putting that up, or there might be, I'd like to do that. I'd like to be that open. How come they get to do that and I don't?
Right.
Because how come they get to feel so safe in doing that and I don't? Right. So those are all these kind of thoughts that can run through our mind, even subconsciously. We don't even realize that we are engaged in, because it's so automatic. You mentioned something about this feeling of comfort, and I think there's an important distinction that we make. And I hear this all the time when I talk with people, and they're like, "Yeah, well, I'm really I'm just comfortable with that." This maladaptive behavior, this hurtful thing in my life, feeling anxious, feeling depressed, whatever it might be. If it's bad, they're like, "Well, it feels comfortable."
Yeah.
And the distinction I make, and I think is really important, is that just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's comfortable.
Exactly.
And I think we conflate the two things. So
100%. There's this idea: familiarity breeds comfort.
Right.
Familiarity is comfort. If I'm familiar with something that's really uncomfortable, I'm not comfortable.
It can still be damaging or negative or painful or you just don't want it in your life.
No.
Just because you know it doesn't mean it's right. Right. Just because you know it and you're familiar with it, just because you know of the thing existing doesn't mean that it's okay.
Absolutely.
And that's an important distinction to make, because I think in a lot of this process, as we look at things we need to change in our life or what doesn't really work for us, it's all patterns, right? It's like, just because we're familiar with a certain pattern doesn't mean it's acceptable.
Right.
Or has to continue to be acceptable. It might have been acceptable up to a point.
Right.
But when we look at what we want to change or how we want to like transition into something, we get to say, hey, you know what? I'm familiar with that, but I don't have to be comfortable with it anymore.
Right.
And
I think too, the comfort plays a huge factor in a huge role in perfectionism, because perfectionism is in many ways a control device.
Absolutely.
And so when do I feel comfort? When I feel like I'm in control.
Absolutely.
Even if control is illusory, which it largely is. I can't control you. I don't know what you're going to say next.
No.
You don't know what I'm going to say next.
No, we can make educated guesses.
Right.
We can, and I think as human beings, we're always doing that. We're trying to assess situations, right? Remember, we're back to safety again.
Yeah.
Always back to safety, back to assessing situations. The more we can compartmentalize and classify things and feel that we have control, the safer we feel. So we set things up in our life that way. That's why we don't like gray area. That's why most people really want things black and white. Nothing is black and white in life. One thing. Life begins, life ends. We've mentioned, right? That's it. That's the only black and white thing.
Yeah.
Good chance the sun's going to come up and the sun will set, most likely.
Right.
But that'll stop at some point too. Not to raise the existential dread around that.
Right.
But, so there's one thing that we know with certainty is that life begins and life ends. The rest of it is actually gray area.
Yeah.
And which provides choice. It provides us, this ability to kind of navigate and make decisions. And that can be overwhelming and scary. So we go back to trying to control everything and put perfectionism in our life and all or nothing thinking to make it easier,
right?
To make it familiar, to make it comfortable. And it's not.
No,
it can't be, because that's not how life works.
Not how life works. You can't control it. And we are in this, again, we're participating in this society where agency, control, there are so many promises of increased control.
Right.
A Google Home. You can walk in, you don't even have to flip the light switch. You can just say, Google, turn on my lights. Google, turn on my alarm. Google, turn on my TV. Google, put me to sleep. Google, feed me. It's like we have this illusion of increased agency, greater control over our environment and the world around us and people, when in actuality, we don't.
No, because life is going to continue.
Life finds a way, as Jeff Goldblum said.
That's right. That's right.
Jurassic Park.
I was thinking, it's funny. I was thinking of this saying in a lot of recovery, and like also like accepting life on life's terms.
Right.
And especially in like the mental health world and healing, that's always like, hey, we have to accept life on life's terms.
Surrender.
What does that mean?
You are accepting life on life's terms is almost like, okay, these are my orders and I can accept them or fight them. The philosophy behind that idea that people talk about a lot in 12-step recovery is that all human suffering stems from essentially a failure to accept life on life's terms.
Right.
Failure to accept what is. And so life on life's terms can be thought of, I think, as what is. This is the way. This is the way things are. And, you're wearing brown boots today. I really wanted you to wear black boots. Actually, I wanted you to wear sneakers today to match my sneakers.
Right. That would have been nice.
I wanted us to both wear Adidas sneakers.
Right.
And you're wearing brown boots. And there's nothing I can do about it. So I am going to accept in this moment, life on life's terms means you're wearing brown boots. I'm wearing sneakers. You look professional and sophisticated, and I look like an overgrown child. And that's just the way it is.
It's a vibe. It's okay. We do. So this comes up with parenting a lot.
All the time.
Right. So and I think when we think about perfectionism and parenting, it's this control that we have. if I think of the struggles that I hear about from others from parenting and just from myself, I mean, just the idea of like, you have to wear this, go out of the house wearing a coat. This is my battle and the hill I am dying on right now.
Right.
And I seem to be the only one dying on it.
Right.
Like between me and my kids. And when I talk to other people, they're like, oh yeah, no, I die on that hill every day and it doesn't change. Because we drive up to my kid's school and every kid getting out, and it's been 2 degrees, 3 degrees, like the last 3 weeks here, single digits. Every kid is just wearing a sweatshirt, a hoodie, and pants and like Uggs or Crocs. And they're out in 20 inches of snow, 0-degree weather with just a hoodie on. And I'm every day going out of the house, I make myself crazy yelling, put a coat on, bring a coat, at least bring the coat with you, put the coat in your bag. No. And it's my control. I'm trying to control for numerous things.
You're scanning for danger.
I'm scanning for danger, but I don't want my kid to get frostbite.
Right.
They're not going to get frostbite. They're in a school. They're warm. And then like they have a 3-minute walk to the car. I don't want them to get frostbite. I don't want to be seen as a bad parent. And that's the issue. My issue is I don't want other parents driving up to the school and going, can you believe his kid doesn't have a coat to wear?
Oh my God.
That he didn't make his kid put a coat on.
Right.
So it becomes the comparison thing.
Yeah.
So part of it is, I want my kid to be warm and safe. And I totally do. But there's a big part of it. I really look at it. I need my life to be a certain way.
Right.
Because I have this illusion of control and this illusion of perfection. And so if there's a regimented order in the morning, we get up, we brush our teeth, I make your lunch, you eat breakfast, you get your shoes on, you get your coat when it's cold,
right.
You grab your bag, we go to the car. To me, that order is it's easy. Right. It's easy and it makes sense. It never goes that way. Never.
Right.
My daughter's in 7th grade. It's never gone that way. No. Even since preschool. It's never just that order. It was a little easier when they were small because you can kind of control them.
Right.
But then most of us have kids that don't like to be controlled at a young age. So you're dealing with that always.
Yeah. Illusion of control.
Right.
Illusion of control.
And then the other people looking at me and saying, you don't have control over your life because your kid doesn't wear a coat to school or wears Uggs or Crocs or whatever silly slipper thing they want. All these kids want to wear today.
Totally.
It is. But then I drive up to the school, and as soon as I drive up to the school, I go, oh, this is just like everybody else.
Yeah.
But it's not okay. It still sits with me. And I'm like, there's agita.
Yeah.
It's such a great word. This unrest, this kind of like uncomfortable feeling.
And to accept it and say like, all right, I'm going to have agita. These issues are going to come up for me. Mm-hmm. I have a response from my childhood. I had to wear a uniform going to school. And when I went for dinner at a country club that my parents belonged to, that incidentally had terrible food, atrocious food, you had to wear a sport jacket.
Right.
So another uniform, a dress code. To this day, if I get an invitation and I see an attire request, formal attire, black tie, or somebody invites me to a club where there's a dress code, I just bristle at it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be made to wear something because I don't want to be controlled, because I remember what that felt like as a kid.
Exactly.
To have somebody trying to control me.
And this is where perfectionism as a parent becomes so damaging to a kid.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
My parents definitely were aware of what other people thought of them, and they were concerned about what other people thought of them. And they thought that my appearance would somehow sway one way or the other the way people thought of me.
You were an extension of them. Yeah. Extension, reflection. That's, yeah, of their parenting, of status, of all of it. Like that's what we all, that is the struggle as a parent. You're like, hey, I have this kid. They are a reflection of how well I do in life. And that's not entirely true. It's partially true. That's the difficult part, is that part of that is like, hey, you contribute to their existence,
personality,
their personality. Right. But I think the thing we kind of lose sight of, and that we don't remember as parents, and part of the struggle, is that there's like a third factor. It's like, you're part mom, part dad, or part parent, and there's still personality. There's like people have their own thing. Your kid's not just a 50-50 or 60-40 result of your parenting.
Not a mini-me.
No. And that would be weird. Like sometimes a little bit, but there's this other factor in there.
Yeah.
There's personality. There's their existence, their own being.
The personality is evident almost from the beginning, in my experience.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing aspect of being a parent, witnessing the fact that these children all come out with their own personalities.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also terrifying because it's like, well, what if their personality is Jeffrey Dahmer?
Right.
What, if they're gonna...
That's what we're all trying to control for. I don't want my kid to be a sociopath.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's okay. We don't want sociopaths in our life. But no, you don't, because you don't want your kid to fail. You don't want to have to struggle with that.
Right.
It's painful. It's painful watching your kids struggle. It's all of these things get tied up in it. But yes, they're person, and it's immediately when they're little, as soon as they breathe air, you're like, oh, I kind of know who this one's going to be.
Yeah.
Or I have an idea, you're faced with that lack of control immediately.
Right.
And that is a terrifying idea for human beings, for parents.
It's like that scene in Gremlins, right? Where Gizmo gets wet and then all it starts budding. Is that the word?
All the other gremlins pop out.
All the other gremlins pop up and Stripe pops out.
Yeah.
Evil. Most of the other ones that pop out are anyway.
Yeah.
They're not like Gizmo.
No.
And they wreak havoc. And there's a little bit of that in having inbreeding.
Sometimes they're a little wonky, but but then they figure it out if we let them. It's a practice for ourselves to try and feel good enough. And then it's a real practice as a parent to not hold everybody to this perfectionist standard.
Right.
That's one I struggle with every day, multiple times a day.
Oh, big
and
time.
It's just and I know some people do it better than others. That is my albatross that I walk through life with. And it's interesting because there's Donald Winnicott's idea of good enough parenting.
The good enough parenting, right?
The good enough parent, which is you don't need to be perfect. In fact, it's damaging to be a perfect parent and to hold this structure, and it has to be such a certain way. You need to have space for people to make mistakes and be okay with it. So the good enough parent, you don't hold to perfection. You show up and you can make mistakes as a parent, and as long as you are there emotionally and you are attuned to what your kid
child needs.
Right. And so attunement, and what's attunement? Attunement's like this idea that we're
in sync. We're in sync. I'm listening to you actively.
Yeah.
I hear I can sense what you need, and I provide what you need, what the basic needs are. Children don't demand that their parents are perfect. I mean, maybe when they're teenagers and they criticize you to death.
You will fail.
Right.
It's just fail.
Right. It's just like everything's a fail. And, but especially when they're little and their needs are highly acute, when they're babies, when they're that they can't even move.
Right.
They need you to feed them and change them and hold them and love them. They're not sitting there as babies judging me for being imperfect.
Can't.
They just need me to show up. They ask for what they want when they want it. I need to be able to show up and provide it.
And it's providing very little.
It's just holding them.
It's holding. It's changing, feeding, holding. Those are the three things.
Yeah.
Or tired, right?
Right.
Put in bed. And then as we get older, those needs change, but it's that being attuned with somebody and having this idea of being good enough in that situation. If we can step back and say, whether your kid's 5, 10, or 20, and stepping back and say, what does my child need right now? What do I need to do as a parent right now? How can I just be good enough?
Right.
What do I need to do to be good enough and not perfect?
Right.
That's a hard practice. But it's such a helpful question before we engage.
It's hugely helpful. And with regards to how we view ourselves, we who suffer from perfectionism or live with perfectionism, can we allow ourselves to be good enough? So much of what I experience as a perfectionist is paralysis. Things don't get done. I have to write an email. It has to be perfect. Let me rewrite it. Let me go, I'm not going to send it yet. I'm not going to send it. Oh, wow. It's been a week. That email, I needed to send that email a week ago.
Right.
And I've just sat on it. I've done nothing. As opposed to, you know what? Maybe the email isn't perfectly written, but I need to get it out. I'm going to get it out. It's good enough.
Right.
And life moves on.
Have you ever written an email and forgotten a period? or had a typo in it.
Yes, all the time. Everybody does it.
Right.
Do I judge somebody for not having
No. I never ever look at somebody else's emails for punctuation.
Right, for grammar.
But mine, I freak out about.
Mm-hmm.
Or spelling or grammar or any of it.
Absolutely. You know? Absolutely.
Unless it's your. Y-O-U-R versus Y-O-U''re. Yeah.
Then that gets you.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, that we just need to know.
We must have some standard.
Right. There's some standard of.
We must have some standards.
Excellence.
But yeah, I mean, that paralysis is real because, I mean, if we're paralyzed all the time because of a fear of not doing something perfectly, we're not participating in life. We're on the sidelines. Think about exercise. Ideally, I get a really, really hard hour-long workout in 7 days a week. Guess what? Life happens. Sometimes I can't do that.
Yeah.
And then there's this weird impulse when I don't get an hour of really hard working out, or I get like a half hour, or, you know, like then there's this impulse of, well, now it's just all ruined. You're going to be completely out of shape. You might as well not even try.
That's right. That is the all or nothing thinking. And it is, I'm either going to do this to perfection or I'm going to give up because it doesn't matter.
Right.
That's bananas.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
And
because it still matters.
Yeah.
3 days a week, honestly, you're good.
Yeah.
If you move 3 days a week, you're fine.
Totally.
Which is what most health and medical professionals are actually telling us now. Just move 3 days a week. For half an hour. I don't think it's even that long.
No.
I think it's like a half an hour.
It's a half hour.
Don't sit 12 hours a day. Unfortunately, as therapists, we do.
Yeah.
But don't sit all day. Move 3 days a week. And then here you are going, I need to work out for a full hour, hard sweat, high heart rate,
right.
You know, zone 3, maybe zone 4 for 7 days a week.
Right. And therein lies I think the greatest tragedy perhaps of perfectionism, which is like we're not present. We rob ourselves of the opportunity to be present. We do it with parenting. If I'm constantly worried about trying to control my children, I'm missing out on the magic of who they are.
Absolutely. You're actually restricting who they are and the magic of who they can be eventually.
Right.
Right. It's because then they're worried about meeting your expectations. You're not getting to experience their personality and just the absolute joy and, as you said, magic of like this experience of another human being growing, learning, developing.
Right.
The joy of watching, and I get this out of therapy too. Yeah. When you're in a room with somebody or in a session, you watch the light bulb go off, or you just get to be present while another human being gets to grow and learn and experience something. I assume teachers have the same joy.
Yeah.
Right. There's this beautiful thing and seeing somebody figure something out.
Right.
And if we have this expectation of perfection, we miss that. We miss it for ourselves. We miss it, and it impacts the other person.
Yeah, to a devastating effect sometimes. But yeah, it's also that jazz improv kind of trope that we've talked about in other episodes, and that we talk about a lot. And just when we can be present with each other, when we can be attuned, there's space to witness.
Right.
How about we view our own lives that way? Hey, I'm going to be a loving witness to my own life, the way I try to be a supportive witness to the lives of my clients.
So I'm thinking about that as we're talking about this, like this idea of what do we do if we kind of hold ourselves to this perfect kind of ideal, right? Where we have this structure in our life that we refuse to deviate from. Because if we try to make the change, we're going to fail. We're going to screw it up. Right. I'm thinking already, like every time I try to step back and say, you don't need your coat today, or it's okay.
Right.
Chris, chill out.
Right.
2 days later, I screw it up again.
Right.
Or half an hour later, I'm like, oh, I have that urge to control again.
Which is
when I beat myself up about it. But it sounds like you're saying like, maybe we should have a little bit of grace and compassion for failure.
Absolutely. That's the nature of behavioral modification. It's nonlinear. It's not just like forward movement, getting better. It's like, yeah, we're getting better. And then we take 3 steps back. And how can we sort of summon the compassion necessary to say, okay, I deal with this with substance use disorder too. A harm reduction model. If a client comes to me and says, I want to work on my marijuana use, I want to cut down. Okay. I say, do you want to cut down as in quit? Do you want to be completely abstinent? And they may say yes.
Right.
Or they may say, no, I just want to do a lot less.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, so we'll start down that path, and they will tell me, usually excitedly, wow, I didn't smoke for a day. Oh, I didn't smoke for a week. I didn't smoke for 2 weeks. And then there will be that session where they're sort of like, come in, hanging their head in shame.
Overdid it. Yeah.
I smoked again, and I really went for it. And at that moment, it's my opportunity to not shame them.
That's right.
And to say, all right, this is the way behavioral modifications go. This is the way recovery goes.
Right.
If we're honest about it, there are relapses, there are slips, but look at the fact that you got 3 weeks, 3 weeks without doing it. If you did it once, you can probably do it again.
That's right. You can still build on the momentum of experience. Mm-hmm. This idea, and this works with anger, this works with parent, this works with everything, which is you do good enough and you're doing well and you're kind of like, yeah, I'm killing it. Mm-hmm. And then you slip up. You might miss a day on the treadmill. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. You might miss a day lifting weights.
Right.
That's okay. You get back up and you just keep going.
Right.
And you look at it and go, okay, what did I learn from the experience? What did I learn from this relapse or this slip? I did the behavior again. What did I learn from it? Do you have enough space to step back and look at it as a learning experience? Mm-hmm. Or is it just a tool to beat yourself up with? Right.
That's the question.
Yeah.
And that's a question of perspective. Mm-hmm. And it can sound trite and make you roll your eyes when people say life happens for you. It doesn't happen to you. Ooh. But it is useful.
Yeah.
In these kinds of scenarios to consider that.
What is that? It's life happens for you?
Life happens for us rather than to us. It takes the victimhood out of the equation.
Oh, I love that.
And it enables us to actually do what you're describing. Find the lesson. Mm. Okay, what did I learn from this? There is a lesson in everything. We just have to find it. It's not always clear.
That's right.
Sometimes there's a lesson in what we would deem failure.
There's often a lesson in failure.
Right. Well, Confucius, in fact, said there are no failures, only lessons. Right. We can look at that. Again, it's really, for me and my perfectionist tendencies, it's really easy for me to look at you, somebody I respect and care about tremendously, and to say, oh, yeah, that applies to you. Mm-hmm. I can totally see that for you. That's great for you. I don't want you to ever feel like you're a failure, Chris.
Right.
I want you to feel like you're just learning.
Yeah. And you've done a great job doing that for me, by the way. So thank you. I appreciate that.
But for me, no way, man. Yeah. Like I don't qualify. I fail.
You can't have that compassion for yourself.
Which is
or
really, which is when I really take that in, like I just did when you said that.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
That bums me out because I make mistakes, but I'm not a really shitty person.
No, we all deserve that for ourselves. You deserve it. I deserve it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And we do. And I tell my clients they do, and I believe they do.
Yeah.
I tell my children they do. I tell my wife she does.
Yeah.
My family members, they're not perfect people. They're flawed people. Sometimes they drive me nuts. I know I drive them nuts just by the way I dress. So, but can we
sport coat,
right? Sport coat. But can we dangly earrings? But can we love each other? And that idea of being a loving witness, can we lovingly witness each other and ourselves and what's happening?
Right.
And say, yeah, you know what? This is good enough.
I'm good enough.
I'm good enough.
I've done good enough. This is good enough. And I think that's so important. Mm-hmm. As we look to try and step back from perfectionism.
Right.
We can do it for everyone else. We have to do it for ourselves.
We have to do it for ourselves because if we don't, we're going to remain disconnected. Mm-hmm. And we talk about this again and again on this podcast with each other, with our clients. Connection is everything. Mm-hmm. Connection is arguably the single most important measurement of mental health. How connected are we?
Right.
And if I'm using perfectionism as a way to distance myself from other people and from myself, then that's a really tough challenge that I'm setting out for myself.
Yeah. Compassion and accepting that we're okay. We can make mistakes. It's all right.
Right.
You don't have to wear a sport coat every day.
Or any day.
Or any day. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to Lumen. If today's conversation resonated with you, we encourage you to follow, review, and share Lumen with anyone you think would appreciate it.
We'll be back soon with another conversation designed to bring a little more light to the human condition. I'm Christopher Mooney, LCSW.
And I'm Kenyon Phillips, LMSW.
Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Lumen is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for therapy, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, please contact local emergency services or a trusted mental health professional.